At 6 p.m. in a strip mall motel, my card gets declined. My son, the one who threw me out after pocketing $40 million, orders me to sign papers at 7. I feel the cold edge of the spare house key in my pocket and steady my voice. All communications go through counsel. 3 days later, his wife was on her knees begging for my help. My son arrived with 2 suitcases and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. It quitted them down just inside the door like he owned the threshold. Melissa followed, crisp blouse, phone already in her hand, camera lens winking, and then pretending not to. Heat from the street rolled in with them, the kind that makes desert air feel like a dryer vent. "Dad," David said, voice soaked in sympathy. "Big place for one man?" "Pier. I kept it big for a family," I said. He glanced around at the stairs, the 2-story gallery wall, Helen curated over 4 decades. Weddings, graduations, ordinary afternoons, the life we made, square by square. Melissa crossed to the kitchen with a brochure and left it on the counter as if it belonged there. "Suncrest Villas," she said lightly. "Just a trial week to take the pressure off. They have music nights." "I have quiet nights," I said. "They tune fine." David did his tour, tapping a smoke alarm, lifting a pill bottle, opening a drawer. Melissa filmed a few seconds at a time, cocking the phone down between shots like that made it polite. "For our records," she said. "Whose records?" I asked. "Insurance safety," David said. "Look, Mom's gone, Dad. We just want to set you up to be comfortable. You shouldn't be on ladders. You don't even need stairs." "I need my house." I picked up the brochure and set it back in his hands, and my Tuesday. He smiled that thin smile again. "Just hear us out." Melissa drifted to the fridge and traced her finger over the calendar squares. "You've got nothing penciled in this week. Why not circle Friday? We could do a placement tour." No commitment. Tapped a marker from the pen cup without asking and drew a bright circle. Friday, placement tour? T to 3 might as well have been stamped on the magnet frame. It sat there, loud as a warning siren. David reached for the hook by the door where my keys lived. He slid them free like it was nothing, like he was tidying a counter. "I'll hold these for now, in case we come and go," he said. The jingle cut off in his fist. The silence that followed sounded like a decision I hadn't made. "Put them back," I said, "just for a day or 2. He tucked the keys into his pocket. "You've misplaced them before." He looked past me into the living room, where Helen's rocker faced the yard. She kept it there to watch quail strut through the oleanders, counting them softly under her breath like beads. You can't keep everything after a loss, but you can keep a chair facing the same way. "Dad," he said more softly, "we're trying to help. Help that needs an audience isn't help." He laughed a little, color rising. Okay. Look, the stairs are a hazard, and there's the paperwork we need to review. Mom updated some things." "What paperwork?" "Later," he said. "Let's not stress you." Melissa stepped closer, smile waxy. "We brought your favorite muffins, blueberry." "I liked Helen's blueberry," I said. "They had more blueberry." She slid the bakery away. "You'll love these." I opened it. 4 muffins sat in little sugar craters. I shut the lid. Lid palmed his phone, scrolling. "We've got a Suncrest rep who can do a tour at 6 on Friday. They'll show you the 1-bed garden suite. It's quiet." "So is my bedroom," I said. "Dad," he said, voice tightening, "be reasonable." "I buried my wife," I said, and let the words sit until the room remembered them. "I'll be reasonable on my schedule." Spoke, the fridge hummed. The swamp cooler kicked in with a throat clear. Melissa eased her phone up again, as if to check a text, lens still aimed. "Please stop filming in my house," I said. "It's just for our notes," she said, lowering it, "in case we forget something." "Utilizado." "I'll remind you," I said. David paced to the stairwell and back, eyes on the railing, the photos. He touched the banister like he was measuring it for removal. Then he offered a compromise. "Let us stay here a few nights. We can get things situated. You take a break at Suncrest. Try the food. Meet some folks. No pressure. If you hate it, you come back." "Ear," I said. Cohen flattened. "Pack a small bag anyway. Humor me." The space around us felt crowded with unspoken phrases. Capacity, safety, transition. He didn't say them yet, but they stood in the room like extra guests. "I'm not packing," I said. He exhaled, long and slow, the way he used to when I told him to mow the lawn again because the lines ran crooked. He used to fix the lines. He doesn't fix much now. He adjusts definitions. "Fine," he said, "we'll ease into it." He picked up the brochure I'd handed back and slipped it into his briefcase. The briefcase was new, leather still stiff. He put it next to the suitcases by the door. Melissa filled the silence. "Friday's just a look, we'll text you the time, okay?" "No," I said. "You'll call." "Text is easier for everyone," she said. "Call," I repeated. She nodded, then didn't write it down. David's smile returned, shallow as a puddle. He touched my shoulder in a way that registered more as placement than comfort, putting me where the plan needed me to be. "You'll see," he said. "This will feel like relief." "I don't mistake removal for relief," I said. His hand fell. He checked his phone. For an instant, the screen tilted to me. Just a flash, just enough to catch a banner sliding across the top edge. A buzz, a notification. I didn't need to read the whole thing to recognize the shape of a takeover. Utilities transfer initiated pending. I looked at the calendar and the circle Melissa had drawn, bright as a hazard light. The air from the swamp cooler smelled faintly of dust and cut lemons from the bowl we always kept on the counter. Somewhere outside, a dove cooed like a failing hinge. I can grieve and still read a calendar, I thought. I am not a guest in my own life. "Friday," David said, already moving toward the door. "We'll make it easy." "Nothing about this is easy," I said. He picked up one suitcase and left it by the threshold, as if to mark territory. Melissa straightened the brochure stack in her bag and gave me a practice squeeze on the arm. "Rest," she said. "Work," I said. Stepped onto the porch. Heat came in again and draped itself over the room. I watched the door close and listened for the old sound I knew by heart, the bright clink of metal settling back on the hook. It didn't come. Take. The phone in David's pocket buzzed once more as he turned, the screen bright for a blink, and I let it pass like a bird I would tag later, not shoot from the sky. I reached up and touched the empty key hook, then set my hand back down. The calendar on the fridge hummed faintly with the compressor. Friday circled in neon. I made no move to uncircle it. By late morning, the house sounded different. Same walls, new owners of the echo. David moved through rooms like a contractor pricing out my life. Melissa parked herself at the kitchen island, tablet open, thumbs ready. "Dad," David said, pouring water like a bartender who'd already decided the tip. "Let us move in for a few days. You take a rest at Suncrest, no pressure." "Turterdick," I said. "It didn't get truer overnight." Melissa kept her tone sunny. "We just want to make sure you're eating regularly. People forget when they're grieving." "Forget things I don't care about," I said. "Meals don't make that list." "Stand by." She lifted the tablet, angling it away, but not fast enough. For half a breath, the screen flashed a service page. "Utility service date, Friday, 8 a.m. She pinched the window closed, smile glued on. "Richard," David said softer, "it's temporary. We'll get the pantry organized, maybe take down the loose rug. You can enjoy some activities. You love music." "I love my own chair," I said, nodding toward Helen's rocker by the window, "and silence that belongs to me." He followed my gaze, then shook himself back into the script. "Look, we'll handle the logistics. You just need to pack a small bag, 3 shirts, toiletries." "I'm not packing," I said. "Merkhorn isn't strength," he said. "Neither is trespass," I said. Invoked a quick, harsh exhale. Melissa smoothed it. "We brought muffins yesterday. Did you have one?" "I'm saving them for company." I let the words sit until it pointed to them. David leaned his elbows on the island. "It's a big house, Dad. You know that. These stairs," he rapped the banister, "are a fall waiting to happen. I've been up and down them longer than your marriage has been alive," I said. "They know my name." "Please," Melissa said, tilting her head to the angle that photographs well. "Let us help. Help that needs an audience isn't help." Her smile thinned. "What audience?" "You're rehearsing for one," I said, looking at the phone she'd set face down, camera eye peeking from the case. He changed tactics. "Fine. Just let us move into the guest room. We'll be quiet. You won't even notice." "I notice people who take my keys," I said. I reached to the little hook by the door out of habit. My fingers closed on air. Empty space has a temperature. It's the chill of something taken and the heat of the hand that took it. Misplaced, David said. We're safer if I hold them. Who is we? I asked. The family, he said. I'm the family, I said. You are guests. And I could see the next move assembling behind his face. Concern, capacity, consensus. It's a short game if no one pushes back. I pulled out my phone and scrolled to Pastor Ruth. Her voice answered in recorded form, leave a message. I didn't. I scrolled to Harrison, same. The two tiles sat on my screen with patient little circles, waiting to be filled. Melissa typed, then hesitated, thumbs hovering like dragonflies over cattails. I'm sending a check-in message to the prayer chain, she said lightly, so people can support you. With casseroles? I asked, or opinions? Both can be helpful, she said. Tone shifted to authoritative. We're moving our things into the guest room this afternoon. You'll take a short break at Suncrest starting Friday. Try it. If you hate it, we reassess. You keep moving the word try like a chess piece, I said, but you've already said checkmate. Lorska, he straightened. We're not fighting you. You dressing the fight as care, I said. Silence stretched. The swamp cooler coughed on. In the front yard, a landscaper's blower started up and rattled the oleanders. Melissa lifted the tablet again, pretended to scroll recipes. Her screen threw a brief reflection on the stainless fridge. An 8 o'clock shape with teeth. I didn't need the numbers. The shape was enough. Dad, David said softer, as if the house might sign the consent if I wouldn't. Mom wanted you looked after. Mom wanted me respected, I said. Those are different budgets. Smouth closed it. Melissa picked up the muffins box and held it out like sacrament. Blueberry? I'll pass. Just try a bite, she said. Wilmington heap offering things I already said no to, I said. Are you practicing for court? Her cheeks flared, then smoothed. That's unfair. So is being moved out of your life by people who sign the delivery slips. Ice-T tapped the counters a man, deciding whether to escalate. He chose to smile instead. The smile that tells a room you're reasonable while you hide the hook. Let's make this simple, he said. We'll sleep here tonight, tomorrow we'll tidy, Friday we'll tour. You can stay open, no decisions. Oaked at the calendar where Melissa's bright circle glowed like a hazard beacon. I could have wiped the ink with a damp towel and stolen their theater prop. I didn't. Better to leave the cue on stage and let it indict the actors. My phone buzzed, a single insistent sound. I glanced down. No names, just the stack count in a red bubble over voicemail. One from the church office, one from Harrison's assistant. The little badges sat like uncashed checks. Vide asked, too casual. People with boundaries, I said. Keeking Dad, Melissa said, politeness fraying. We love you. I like love that doesn't arrive with luggage, I said. He tried again. Just pack the bag. No. He stepped back, palms up as if keeping the peace. We'll talk later, he said. You should rest. Work, I said. I have calls to return. In the living room, I took Helen's rocker and let it creak me down. The rocker clicks had a rhythm she liked to call prayer when the day got noisy. Out the window, a pair of quail marched the gravel, their top knots bobbing like small flags. I watched them until my breath matched their pace. I hit call on Pastor Ruth, then hung up before the first ring. I did the same with Harrison. Not playing phone tag isn't weakness. Sometimes it's saving the answer for when it matters. From the kitchen came the sound of drawers opening, closing, the domestic rummage of people settling in without permission. Melissa laughed at something on her screen, too bright, too airy. David carried a suitcase down the hall. The house held it all the way a canyon holds voices and throws them back quieter. Take they're building a story about me. I'll build a record about them, I thought. I took a pen and wrote the time on a sticky note. Wednesday, 11:54 a.m. Then I stuck the note on the arm of the rocker. Dumb little flag for a private country. The front door cracked for a second and a hot ribbon of air cut across the room. I didn't bother standing. The key hook by the door looked naked. I felt for my pocket anyway and found lint and old courage. Richard? Melissa called. Do you want the muffins left out or should I put them in the fridge? Try the neighbor, I said. He likes sweet. The blower outside stopped. For a moment, the house held a listening silence like it was deciding which version of itself to be. My phone shivered again in my hand. I lifted it, saw the red circle on voicemail double. Pastor Ruth. Harrison. Two polite distances sitting side by side. I didn't press play. I locked the screen and slid the phone into my pocket. The weight right where the keys should have been. The evening light turned the living room into a stage, the kind of gold that flatters a lie. Melissa had opened the blinds wider for airflow, which also gave the block a clean view of the scene. David stood in the doorway with a leather folder tucked under his arm. He placed it on the dining table like a contract detective. Melissa set a pen on top of it, shiny as an invitation. "Dad," he began, voice gentle enough to put on a brochure. "Mom updated some things. I'm the executor now." "Confiscated yesterday," I said. "Today I'm asking to see the update." In due time, he flipped the folder open. A set of papers waited, thick with stamps and confidence. Melissa rotated the pen toward me, angle perfect. "We're here to make this easy," she said. "We even reserved a garden suite at Suncrest. Just sign the intake. Try a week." "Trying is for new recipes," I said, "not for removing a man from his house." She smiled like I'd made a joke. David slid one sheet forward. "Mom's will. It's clear." "Show me the seal," I said. He covered the corner with his hand, casual as a cat. "No need to fuss with the formalities. That keep families from becoming headlines," I said. He exhaled. "Dad, don't make this difficult. You can't do stairs, you don't cook. The house is too much." "I built too much with your mother," I said. "It fit us exactly." Melissa slid the Suncrest intake form under my palm, the paper cool and authoritative. "Just preliminaries," she said. "Name, allergies, it'll get you a better room." I lifted my hand off the page and put it on the back of Helen's chair. The wood had a warm groove where her hand used to rest. I felt steadier than they wanted. The doorbell chimed. Through the open blinds, I saw Alonzo pause on his porch, gaze flicking toward our window. He didn't wave, just watched the shape of our conversation like you watch weather. David followed my look. He straightened his shoulders and spoke louder. "We're taking care of things," he said, voice pitched for the neighborhood. "Take care by putting my keys back," I said. He reached to the hook as if he might. Instead, he lifted the ring from his pocket, raised it like a gavel, and let it jingle once in the air. "We'll keep these safe," he said, for the room, for Melissa's phone, for Alonzo, for the story. "Safety doesn't mean ownership," I said. "It means responsibility," he countered. "Tighten, then start with the truth," I said, nodding at the folder. "Let me read every line." "Dad," he said, patience thinning, "let's not escalate." "Miss, you brought luggage," I said. "Escalation arrived with you." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Sign the intake. We'll pack a small bag. Movers can come tomorrow and bring you what you need." "Movers?" I said. "From where to where?" "From here to storage." "Temporarily," Melissa said, too quickly. "Temporarily is a word thieves love," I said. Her smile frayed. "That's unkind. So is trespass dressed as kindness." For a moment, the room stilled. The photos on the wall, the neat stack of mail, the bowl of lemons. Then David tapped the folder, switching back to script. "Here's what happens," he said. "You accept the suite tonight. You test the food, the classes, the medical staff. We stay here and keep things maintained. If you hate it, we revisit." "You already decided what I'll hate," I said. He signaled Melissa. She raised her phone just a little, as if checking a text. The lens saw everything it needed. "Don't film me in my home," I said. "Unprotected," she said. "Your records will mean less than mine," I said. David's smile slipped. "Dad, you're being unreasonable." "Irried my wife," I said. The words heavier this time. Table thick. "I'm allowed a season of unreasonable." He softened just for a hair, then the softness closed like a drawer. He put a hand on the suitcase by the door and nudged it forward an inch, the way you mark territory without peeing on it. "Call the car," he told Melissa. She tapped and nodded. 4 minutes. "I'm not going," I said. "You don't have to agree," he said. "You only have to cooperate." "I'm old, not conscripted." His laugh was small and hard. Don't do this. Do what? I asked. Stand where my name is on the deed? Dad. His voice flattened into that son-to-parent tone that thinks it's the adult in the room. Please, please return my keys, I said. He held the ring up again, the cut metal flashing. We'll keep these safe, he repeated, eyes sliding to the window. Alonzo shifted his weight, the porch rail catching a bit of his weight like even it had an opinion. The Tay rideshare pulled to the curb, headlights washing through the blinds, and the living room turned stripes. David lifted the folder, brushed the Suncrest intake form straight, and tapped where a signature would make their night tidy. Sign, he said. Not blink, he did in the folder with a clean clap, then picked up the suitcase and set it at my feet. Then at least take an overnight bag, he said. Pack it for me, I said. Let the video show who chose what. Melissa sucked a breath. Richard. Awkward and reached for Helen's rocker to steady it. My hand came away with resolve instead of dust. Neighbors watching, I said quietly. Maybe that helps you behave. David's jaw worked. We're going now. Then we go, I said. I picked up nothing but my wallet and the way to the house. I walked out first, not because I was led, because a man can choose to walk rather than be shoved. On the porch, the air held the day's heat like a grudge. I nodded once at Alonzo. He didn't speak, but his eyes said he'd seen the show and knew the director. At the curb, the driver popped the trunk. Melissa reached for the suitcase handle. David lifted the keys again, a glint under the street lamp. We'll keep these safe, he said the third time, because repetition makes a script feel like reality. Keep them polished, I said. You'll be returning them. Let's move, he said, angling me toward the car. After you, I said, and waited until he realized I meant it. He settled the bag in the trunk. Melissa slid into the back seat beside me, still smiling, still kind, still recording in ways a court would call concern. David leaned into the open door. Stincrest knows you're coming, he said. I didn't RSVP, I said. Don't make this worse. I don't need to, I said. You're efficient. Shepard Clation? Desert Star Motel, Melissa said. 2 nights, then reassess. Desert Star, I repeated, so the car in the evening and the neighbor and the keys would hear it. The name sounded cheap and temporary and exactly what they wanted from me. The door shut, the car eased away. Through the rear window, I saw David on the porch, the keys a small bright coin in his hand. Alonzo stepped back inside his own doorway, a shadow cut by the frame. At the motel desk, the air smelled like old carpet cleaner and oranges. A little bell sat by the sign-in book, though nobody had touched a pen, there since phones learned to pay for their owners. The clerk appeared from a back room with a smile that belonged to all customers and none. Bilingual and card? He asked. I handed both over, voice steady. 1 night for now. He typed 2 lines, frowned, and then the printer spit a narrow slip with a mechanical sigh. Receipt, date, and time. He slid it toward me with practiced fingers. Would you initial that? I asked. Taggy looked up, surprised but unbothered. Sure. He scrawled his initials, then stamped the bottom with a little motel logo that looked like a star trying too hard. My phone vibrated. I pulled it out for the card chip to talk to the terminal, and as the screen woke, a banner crawled across the top edge like a stage direction. Utilities switch, completed. 8:03 p.m. Not lunge for a screenshot, didn't narrate the moment. I just looked at the slip the clerk had initialed, and then up at the wall clock behind his head. The hands sat at 8:03, split by the second hand's climb. Room key, the clerk said, sliding a plastic card toward me. Thank you, I said, folding the receipt once, then twice, and placing it in my wallet where a man keeps the things he won't lose. They think exile shrinks a man. Sometimes it sharpens him. I picked up the motel key. The plastic was rough where the number had been rubbed with too many thumbs. I turned toward the hallway, past the ice machine that coughed like an old smoker, past the soda glass humming with its own small neon. In my pocket, my phone buzzed again, the sound of a life being moved by other hands. I didn't look. I held the receipt like a quiet promise and walked to the room with the door that would open. Harrison Fitzgerald's office smelled like oak and toner, the scent of things that stay and the machines that make them official. He rose when I came in, sleeves rolled, tie loosened like someone who fights paper with paper. "You must be Richard," he said, shaking my hand and holding the look a beat longer than most men do. "I'm sorry about Helen. And about what my son did with the sympathy." He gestured me into a chair at a table too heavy to move without a plan. The receptionist slid the door half shut and left the hum of the copier to fill what I didn't say. "Let's get your feet under you," Harrison said. "Three things first, fast and clean. 1. We pull a court-certified copy of Helen's last will. 2. We request utilities login headers to see who moved what. 3. We notice the banks about suspected fraud, including any account freezes that didn't come from you." He spoke in numbered steps, the way men talk when they've learned that order is the shortest path through panic. 4, I said. We stop them from narrating me as incompetent. He nodded. "Capacity will handle by showing, not debating." "Grief bent me," I said. "Paper can straighten me." He smiled a little. "Good. Keep talking like that when they push." "Pushing is their hobby," I said. Blackmail optionist tapped the glass. "Quick note. Someone named David called twice last week asking if we'd reached you yet. Said you were traveling." Harrison's eyebrow lifted. "Traveling?" "He Desert Star Motel," I said. "It's on Van Buren and Regret." He made a small note, then looked up. "Okay, we move." "Cole?" Before he could set the first call, my phone buzzed against the oak like a small alarm. David. I let it ring once in my palm, then thumbed it to speaker and set it down where both of us could hear. "Represent? Dad?" David's voice came through warm, performative warm. "Heard you're lawyering up." "Conclusive. Wussing facts," I said. "You don't need to waste money," he said. "Mom wanted simplicity." "Mom wanted integrity," I said. "Those aren't synonyms." "You're making this worse," he said, that old flat edge sharpening. Harrison watched me, still as a judge. "I'll stop," I said, "when the truth does." Silence on his end, like he'd met the wall he didn't expect. Then, "You always love drama." "D. When the scene calls for it," I said. "Cole? Fine," he snapped. "We'll proceed without you." The line clicked dead. Harrison let out a breath he hadn't taken. "Thank you for taking that on speaker," he said. "It saves me a paragraph later." He slid a legal pad toward me. "Here's the immediate run." I walked to the records window with your IDs and pulled a certified will. My paralegal emails the utilities for header logs. We place fraud notices with the banks, and you request, personally on camera if possible, a capacity check at your branch. "I can do that today," I said. He nodded and turned to the intercom. "Kara, Q utilities requests and a bank fraud template. Also mark a probate status D-10 in Mr. Callahan's folder." The receptionist reappeared with a manila folder and a thick desk calendar card. She set the card in front of us, bold letters D-10, and clipped an identical insert into the folder tab. The paper was heavy, the kind that makes deadlines feel like gravity. "This is our office target, not a court order," Harrison said, "but we treat it like the latter." I looked at the block letters until they steadied in my vision. The card anchored the day to more than outrage. It was a plan, printed big enough to hit you in the face. He stood. "Records office is 3 blocks. We'll walk. Paper gets less lost when your feet are under it." We moved through a hallway of old verdict photos, men and women holding documents like passports, back into their own lives. In the lobby, the air conditioner coughed awake again and rattled the chain on a brass lamp. "Mr. Callahan?" the receptionist said from her desk. She softened her voice. "For what it's worth, when your son called, he said you were confused. You don't sound confused." "Grief can slur a man," I said, "but the nouns still line up." Harrison held the door. "Let's go align them in the record." On the sidewalk, heat radiated up through my shoes. He set a brisk pace that didn't pretend I was younger than I am. We walked like men who wanted the day before the day wanted us. Inside the records building, a woman behind bulletproof glass took one look at Harrison's card and slid us a number. The digital display ticked forward with a bureaucrat's indifference. We didn't speak much. We didn't need to. "Tell me about Melissa," he said finally. "Smile like a brochure. Phone like a net. Good to know. When our number came up, Harrison did the asking. I watched the clerk disappear with a pull of a door that made a soft seal sound, like the room was keeping secrets safe. Back in his office an hour later, he set a neat stack of tasks on the table, each page in a different color. He was one of those, the people who use color to turn panic into process. Cardboard requests are out, he said. Bank fraud notice queued. I'll file suspected forgery after we verify with the certified will. Meanwhile, you go to your bank and ask for a capacity check on camera. Be yourself. Don't over-explain. Plan to, I said. He reached into a drawer and came out with a small silver key on a blue tag. He turned it in his fingers once, then placed it in my palm. This is a temporary locker down the hall, he said. Documents you collect go in there, not your pocket, not your car, not your motel nightstand. Chain of custody begins with not losing your own story. Protested. The metal had the good weight of something meant to open, not close. I closed my hand around it and felt the faint memory of the empty hook by my front door. You'll want the will today, I said. I want the will today. You'll have it, he said. If he forged it, we'll see it by Tuesday. He picked up the D-10 card again and clipped it to the inside of my folder, where it would touch my fingers every time I reached for the plan. The calendar block showed bold against manila, loud enough to count as a promise. I slipped the locker key into my pocket. It sat where my house keys should have been, clean and deliberate. Bathrooms bent me. Paper can straighten me. The motel carpet had a pattern like spilled tea leaves. I followed it to the front desk and asked the clerk for a duplicate of last night's receipt. Another copy, he said, already tapping. Souvenir, I said. He initialed the corner without fuss. I folded it once and slid it into my wallet. Ambient to the day, not the point of it. The point waited across the street on Alonzo's porch. He'd seen me coming and set out 2 metal chairs that remembered cooler months. You all right? He asked. I'm vertical, I said, and I need a favor that's really a fact. He nodded once and stood, the quiet kind of neighbor who knows the difference. Inside his screen door, he tapped a small screen mounted under the porch light. After they left, I checked the feed, he said. Didn't like what I saw. He scrubbed to Friday evening. There it was, the blinds open wider, the move staged just so. David held up the keys like prize catches. Melissa's phone hovered like a dentist light. Can you send me that clip, I asked. Original file, no trims. Email okay, he said. Better than air, I said. He thumbed in my address. The porch camera chimed as it dispatched the thing that would stop being just a feeling. My phone buzzed. New message, Alonzo, porchcam.mp4. I opened the mail app, hit forward, typed Harrison, and added one line. Clip shows keys lifted and optics staged. My thumb hovered over send and then pressed it. The screen flashed the only number that mattered. Sent 2:17 p.m. Sweeps glanced at the phone. Good? Enter when it lands. Use my name, he said. I'm not hiding. That helps, I said, and meant it. He leaned back, the chair complaining. Your boy always talked fast, his wife too. Fast isn't the same as true, I said. Alonzo nodded toward the street. Folks saw some of it, they don't say much, but they saw. Ing counts, I said. He studied me. You going to get your house back? I'm going to get the truth on paper, I said. The house will follow the paper. We let the heat press on us for a minute. 2 dubs traded syllables from the power line. The clip finished uploading to wherever clips go when they become evidence. My phone dinged again. Auto reply probate clerk. Hearing slots release in 7 days. The bureaucratic voice of a future room. Countdown started, I said. If you need me there, Alonzo said, I'll put on a better shirt. You'll be fine in this one, I said. Honest shirts read well. He laughed once, then went inside for water. I stayed on the porch and pulled up Melissa's contact. My thumb hit record. Return my keys, I said after the beep. They're my safety, not yours. I followed with a text so she couldn't say she missed it. Bring the keys back today. Her bubbles appeared, disappeared, returned. They're safer with us, she finally wrote. Please stop fixating. Focus on your health. He did the thing I wanted to say. I kept the part that would matter later, then bring them back where they're safest. Subjected. On a stated way, she could fix stop a note to the date. Please stop safer. A man a large, with a safe, honesters. Alonzo returned with 2 sweating glasses. You want ice? I want my wife's handwriting back on the grocery list, I said, then softened it with a nod. Ice is fine. He set a glass beside me, and as he did, a small metal tin on a bookshelf caught the light. Blue flowers, chipped at the edge. Helen's little sewing tin. We'd lent it to his wife once for a school project and never got around to retrieving it. Well, and if I look, I asked. Take it, he said. Been tripping over that for months. I opened the tin, the hinge creaking like it remembered my hands. Inside, a thimble, 2 bent needles, a card of buttons, a packet of hooks and eyes, and beneath all that, a spare house key taped to the bottom with a strip of old masking tape, labeled in Helen's block letters, front. Alonzo whistled low. Would you look at that? Unleashed the key in my palm. It was slightly tarnished, the way brass gets when it's waited too long. The tape gave a little, but held. Helen had always used too much tape when she cared. I didn't smile. I didn't sermonize. I just felt the weight. Not triumph, leverage, hidden leverage. Things you tuck away come in handy, Alonzo said. She believed in a spare for everything, I said. Bless her redundancy. Don't try it yet, he added, reading my face. No need to make a scene till the scene is yours. I'm not trying anything today, I said. Today I send files and keep my feet. He raised his glass. To files and feet, we drank. The water tasted like Phoenix tap, metal and a rumor of dust. I could live on it. My phone buzzed one more time. Harrison. Received, downloaded, clip metadata preserved. Good work. Cling back, more coming. Then I didn't send anything else. A man can be concise when the record is doing the talking. Humiliation stings less when facts start to stack. I slid the spare key into my pocket and stood. Keep that tin, Alonzo said. I'll bring it back when it's just a tin again, I said. He clasped my shoulder. I'll be here, as with ordinary feet and a slightly heavier pocket. The day didn't change color. The house on my street didn't leap off its foundation and run toward me. But the story bent just a degree toward where it belonged. 6 months before the funeral, Helen and I sat across from Harrison with a stack of drafts that smelled faintly of ink and caution. She wore the blue sweater that made her look like a kind of weather I could live in. I don't want love to become leverage, she said. Paper before promise. Harrison nodded and read the clause back to her. David's share contingent on his treatment of me, respect, access, no coercion, no interference with my home. Helen listened like a juror and signed like a woman who had no patience left for wishful thinking. If he's the man we raised, she said, this won't matter. If he isn't, this will. I remember thinking it was over-careful. Today I think it was mercy with a spine. Helicopters. Heartbeat 8:05 a.m. The motel ice machine coughed itself awake. I set my coffee down, opened the bank app, and watched the screen paint in the way screens do when they're about to tell you who thinks they own you. A banner slid across the top, gray as a bruise. Account on temporary hold. 48 to 72. Family concern reported. I didn't jab at it. I didn't narrate it for the ceiling. I let the words sit on glass long enough to fix their shape in my head. The phone vibrated with the false kindness of learn more. Rolled the spare key in my palm. Helen's tape on the back had picked up a grain of dust, and the grit felt like a reminder, use what's in your hand. The branch line answered on the second ring. Downtown Maine, scheduling. I need a capacity check, I said. On camera, today if possible. Squeeze Scheduler's voice carried the unbothered competence of someone who tells problems, what time to show up. Officer Tran can see you tomorrow morning. Tomorrow, I repeated, matching my breath to the word. Bring a photo ID, she said, and no one else needs to speak for you, I said. I hung up and let the room be small. Hum of the mini fridge, a sliver of sunlight fighting the blackout curtains. The spare key warmed in my fist until my hand stopped shaking. Melissa called as if she'd been listening outside the drywall. Richard, can we keep this out of court? The tone had a soft rim and a hard center. It's family. Lawyers complicate family. When you made it legal ID, Carly exhaled through her nose. That language is hurtful. Accurate first, I said, hurtful later. Etley, she said, we'll keep you comfortable. It doesn't have to be a battle. It already is, I said. You just don't like the uniforms. David is worried you'll drain accounts by mistake, she said. He's protecting outcomes. David drained the truth, I said. The accounts are reacting. Silence, then the rustle of a script. A short stay at Suncrest will calm everyone down. No one needs to be embarrassed. I'm past embarrassment, I said. I'm in the part with receipts. I'm trying to help you, she said. Help that needs an audience isn't help, I said, and ended the call. The phone signed with a new banner for the same old thing. Temporary hold, 4872 hours. I let it stand like a timer in the corner of my vision, not a threat, an appointment. I thumbed a calendar reminder for tomorrow morning, then placed the phone face down on the motel desk and pressed my palm flat over it until the vibration stopped. It felt like training a dog. I called utilities next. I need to speak to someone who can send login headers, I said. The rep said, we've got your request on file from counsel. We'll ring you back before noon. Her headset chatter bled into the line like a second conversation I didn't need. Before noon is fine, I said. I'll be near this phone. Width of the room, 11 steps turn, 11 back, until my lungs remembered how to be useful. On step 9, Helen's sentence surfaced and set like concrete. Paper before promise. She had drafted a future where I didn't have to guess. I could honor that plan by refusing to guess about anything now. My text buzzed. Unknown number. Let us move into the house today, you rest. Lawyers later. The punctuation tried to sound friendly. I pictured Melissa picking each period like an outfit. I wrote back. Return my keys. Back. Return my keys. 3 dots. Nothing. Wildfires. I stared at the motel painting of a saguaro and the saguaro did its job. It held still. My phone, finally obedient, did the same. The banner at the top line, 4872 hours, might as well have been a clock on the wall. It didn't unsettle me anymore. It organized me. Take a put the spare key on the desk, lined up the cut teeth with the wood grain, and smoothed Helen's old tape for no reason except that it felt like putting my hand over hers. She planned for my dignity. I can honor that plan. I picked up the key and my folder and walked out into the heat to make the next appointment real. Blindness, the records window was 3 inches of glass, and a woman who had seen 100 families pretend not to be fighting. Harrison slid our request through the slot with the ease of a man who lives in numbered steps. Certified copy of Helen Callahan's last will and testament, he said. The clerk took my ID, checked the database, and vanished through a gray door with a soft seal sound, like secrets behind weather stripping. We waited with a dozen other errands and arguments. A printer chirped in the back. A stamp thunked twice. When she returned, she brought a manila jacket with a blue seal pressed into its corner, and the weight of something that can't be argued with. Take here for receipt, she said, and verify the seal's unbroken. Harrison didn't touch it yet. He angled the packet so I could see the raised crest, the way the paper dented around it. I put my fingertip near the edge and felt the texture shift. Legitimacy has a sound, I said. Today it's a seal stamp. He smiled. Let's go make it speak. Outside, the heat felt less like punishment and more like proof that your blood still moves. We walked back to his office with the envelope in my hands, not his. He held the door, and for the first time since the funeral, I wanted a witness to see me enter a room first. In the conference room, he cleared the table. He didn't rush. He let the moment find its size. Then he slit the envelope, pulled the certified copy free, and smoothed it flat with 2 deliberate palms. Ty, he read the essentials aloud, not for me, but for the record that would live in his notes. House and 70% to Richard, 10 million to David, conditional on his treatment of Richard. Dates, notarizations, the clause Helen insisted on with that unarguable calm of hers. This is the spine, he said. Everything else is muscle. Paper before promise, I said. Exactly. He photographed the seal once. No codes, no parade of numbers, just a clean image of the emboss. He dropped the photo into a labeled folder, then slid the original into a clear sleeve and handed it across. Your hands, he said. Your life. Table and pressed my palm over my name the way you calm a startled horse. The room changed weight. So did I. The filings. It wasn't a montage so much as a rhythm. His voice to the clerk, an email to the utilities, a notice to the bank that their family concern would be meeting a court document with a seal. He spoke like a person who knows which words unlock doors. My phone buzzed. Undecided. Stop. You're making this worse. I typed, for who? A bubble appeared, held, vanished. No answer. Good, Harrison said, reading it over my shoulder without apology. Don't chase. Paper doesn't panic. And crossed to a whiteboard where he kept a war of magnets. He wrote in block letters and pinned a card high where a man has to look up at it. FBI window, T-3, -0, T-0, pending verification. We're waiting on two things, he said. Utilities headers and a quick read from the Bureau that Helen's funds are what we think they are. When those land, the window opens, we use it. I thought of Helen, careful with grocery lists, ruthless with principles. She hadn't left me a fortune, she'd left me a framework. I reached into my pocket and brought out the spare key from Alonzo's shelf, set it beside the will, brass next to paper, door next to deed. Trey's version of the next 48, Harrison said. You'll go to your bank tomorrow morning for the capacity check, on camera, on your terms. We'll press utilities for login headers and submit a fraud alert that lines up with whatever they send. If David or Melissa escalate before then, you mirror their calm and tell them everything goes through counsel. I can do calm, I said. I just don't do surrender. That's not on the menu, he said. The receptionist cracked the door. Utilities confirmed they're compiling logs. Bank flagged your notice as received. And, she hesitated. Melissa left a message with a concerned spouse tone. Log it, Harrison said. Nothing to return. I looked at the certified will again. The seal caught the light like the face of a coin no one could spend without me. I slid the sleeve gently toward my folder, feeling the slight resistance of plastic over paper. Say it out loud, Harrison said, friendly but firm. What? What the document says about your life? That it's mine, I said. Good, he said. We build from there. Legitimacy has a sound. Today it's a seal stamp. I gathered the copy, the folder, and my locker key. Harrison pinned the T3 T0 card to the wall and stepped back, arms relaxed like a craftsman, admiring the first true line of a cabinet. I didn't need a speech. I placed the certified will on the table. I set the spare key beside it. I let the room see the picture. At the bank branch, the scheduler recognized my name from yesterday and stood a little straighter. Officer Tran's got you at 9 sharp tomorrow, she said. Photo ID, no one else needs to speak for you. That's the idea, I said. Outside, the heat slapped my face like a wake-up. I crossed to the bus stop, called utilities, and waited while a recorded voice praised their efficiency. When a person finally arrived, she sounded brisk and awake. This is Carrie with Desert Power and Water, Copenhagen. I need login headers for the account transfers on Friday night, I said. Original exports, not screenshots. You're the primary on the account? Yes. And you did not authorize any change of service? Correct. Okay, she said, keys rattling under her voice. I can see 2 logins and a switch submitted at 7:52 p.m. I'll export headers and send PDFs. What address? I gave her Harrison's secure inbox. Copy me, I added. I want the chain to start at my eyes. You'll get 2 messages, she said. Headers and a confirmation. Look for them within the hour. Thank you, Carrie. Glad to help, she said, and meant it. My phone buzzed before I could pocket it. David. Stop confusing the bank. Clarity leaves receipts, I texted back. Bubble appeared, vanished, nothing. At the motel desk, I asked if my room could be extended a night. The clerk's stamp thunked once, administrative mercy. I set the folder on the tiny table and palmed the spare key, Helen labeled front. I turned it over until the tape warmed under my thumb. I couldn't tell if it would still fit. That was the point of locks. They change without telling you. The first email landed with a soft chime from Carrie, Desert Power and Water, subject, account activity headers. I opened the attachment long enough to confirm it looked like a clean export, login, location type, timestamp bands, then hit forward to Harrison with a single line, utilities headers attached. The cursor blinked and then the mail app stamped the page with the only detail I needed to show. Position 1:42 p.m. Communicated followed immediately with the second message, confirmation. Same treatment, same economy, same chain. Accompanier on called within minutes. Got them, he said. Nice and tidy. We'll align these with your motel receipt and the phone banner from Friday. I'm submitting fraud notices to utilities and police with the headers attached. Rika, I said. We'll also get a ping from my whiteboard, he added. FBI verification is moving. If we get the answer we expect, the operational window opens. A new email slid into the top of my inbox as if he had pushed it there by hand. FBI window holds T33 days, subjected to verification. I stared at the banner text in the preview pane. 3 days wasn't forever, but it was enough to get a man's posture back. Understood, I said. Keep today light, Harrison said. Prep your bank visit. Don't engage with Melissa except to log what she sends. Subjected the word settle, I said. Let her like it, he said. I hung up and let the room be a command post. I sharpened a pencil because it felt like winning the smallest war. I wrote tomorrow 9 o'clock on a sticky and put it over the motel TV where a clock would be if I hadn't learned to distrust clocks. The second utilities email dinged. I repeated the ritual, open, confirm, forward, watch the little proof queue appear. Sent 2:03 p.m. My phone rang. I let it go to voicemail. Melissa texted instead. You're making a spectacle. Please don't drag church into this. We can fix it quietly. Return my keys, I wrote. We'll fix it honestly. 3 dots, no words. I phoned the utilities number back and got Carrie again. One more thing, I said. Can you confirm on the call that you've sent what you sent? Just a sentence I can repeat to counsel. Wrote, yes, she said. I emailed the account activity headers and the change of service confirmation to the addresses you gave. Thank you, I said. You've helped more than you know. Negligence. Really wish people wouldn't do this to their parents, she said, and then caught herself. Sorry, that's not official. It's human, I said. I'll take it. In the little motel mirror, a man my age looked back with desert light on one side and motel beige on the other. I practiced saying nothing with my face on. Some days that's harder than speeches. The spare key clicked against the tabletop as I set it down to make coffee. It sounded smaller than it felt. I picked it up again and tucked it into the folder sleeve as if to reassure both of us we were on the same side. By late afternoon, the motel ice machine sputtered and hushed. I dialed Harrison once more. If the FBI window opens, I said, I won't miss it. You won't, he said. You've been early to everything. Notification popped up while we spoke. I glanced without tilting the screen. A habit now. Smart lock. Order delivered. A model name I didn't recognize sat under it like a dare. Something just landed on my porch, I said. Don't react, he said. Let it be part of their record. Shuffled. I ended the call and let the notification fade like a fish back into murky water. I didn't screenshot it. I didn't write the model down. I just filed the shape of the words in my head. If they narrate my decline, I'll narrate their trail. Alarm for 7:30 a.m., laid my wallet and ID on the desk, and slid the spare key back into my pocket. The room held still. The day had done what it needed. Evidence moved, time shortened, and the people who thought they owned my story added a new device to the stage. Forging fee shops smelled like burnt sugar and ambition. I chose a table with my back to the wall and my face to the door. Melissa's co-working space sat across the street, all glass and plants and people who wore headphones like crowns. Midpoint we can talk terms over coffee, she'd texted. Put them in writing, I'd replied, then I'll read them. She arrived 5 minutes late and waved from the sidewalk without coming in. Her phone was already in her hand, thumb busy. I lifted mine and typed where she could see the blue bubbles bloom. What are you offering? Be specific. Her reply came quick. You keep the house in 5M. We make sure nothing about mom's money sees daylight. I let my breath go, slow. I tapped screen record, then opened the thread into full view so that the header time strip sat clean on top like a clock on a witness stand. Define clean assets, I typed. Funds you can spend without questions, she wrote. We help handle the rest. Who is we? Family, she wrote, then 3 dots, then David has documents. Across the street, I watched her lips move as she typed words arriving on my screen like a bilingual play. My camera stayed in my lap, lens off. I didn't have to catch her face. Her words were the face. Balloons eyed the documents, I wrote, email or text. Abolish, keep this simple, she replied. No lawyers. Lies, I typed. Unprotected. The bubble pulled. The bubble pulsed. We can do this tonight, she sent. Sign a few things. You get 5M plus house. Everyone's happy. Everyone? I wrote. You, she sent. Us. Your church won't hear a thing. There it was. The choir robe dangled as hush money. Put all terms in one message, I wrote, including clean assets and 5M. Popped into the thread like a man who couldn't watch someone else drive. David, clean assets equals money without legal issues. Dad, sign tonight at 7. Melissa will handle. After that, everything quiet. I let them talk. The screen record kept its little red glow in the corner, silent as gravity. Send the address, I wrote, and the docs in advance. David, no, in person. We don't want confusion. I don't confuse, I wrote. I document. A shape figured itself behind my shoulder. I didn't turn. Alonzo's low voice came from just over my ear. Saw her dictating that last bit, he said softly. I'll send a note. Escalating, I said, eyes still on the screen. He moved away, the bell over the door making a clean note. I took still screenshots of the header bar and the first message with clean assets and 5M in it, because redundancy isn't waste when the truth needs to be caught from 3 angles. Then I hit share and sent the screen record and the stills to Harrison's secure inbox with a subject line that didn't explain anything it didn't have to. Extortion thread, clean assets 5M, header visible. The send wheel spun and then flattened into a single line that mattered. The time strip on the record captured itself in the corner. I let the file finish and didn't touch anything until the phone gave me its small, satisfied click. Melissa buzzed again. 7 p.m. Tonight. Come alone. We can make this go away. Crimes rarely go away, I wrote, but receipts do travel. No response. The barista asked if I wanted a refill. No, I said. I'm full. I stepped outside and crossed the street. Melissa stood just inside the lobby glass, still looking at her phone. She glanced up at me and smiled with only the top half of her face. Tonight, she mouthed. I shook my head once and kept walking. On the sidewalk, I took one photo of the spare key lying beside my lit phone screen, the brass small against the glow. No one would ever need the picture. I needed it. My calendar app buzzed. T to 2 for a window I could not say out loud yet. I didn't like countdowns until they started to feel like handrails. Across the street, Alonzo texted his note. Saw Melissa dictating/typing the clean assets/5M message at 12:22. Will testify. I forwarded his line to Harrison and put the phone away with the carefulness of a man pocketing a baby bird. Their words trapped them better than I ever could. Pallet, the last message of the hour, landed like a rubber stamp. David, final offer at 7 p.m. or conservatorship filing tomorrow. I didn't answer. The threat sat on the glass like a bug. I let it. Say the notary kiosk lived in a strip mall between a tire shop and a payday place where signatures and tread both get replaced when families start to skid. The clerk wore a lanyard and the look of someone who could spot a lie by the way a pen hesitated. Name, she asked. Richard Callahan. She slid the forms across, aligned the corners like soldiers, and watched my face while I signed. Plenty of family drama today? Plenty of paper to calm it, I said. She stamped, sealed, and slid the packet back. One clean montage. Stamp, thunk. Seal, hiss. Receipt, tear. The sound steadied my hands better than coffee. Harrison's boardroom smelled like lemon oil and old arguments resolved. He had the conference speaker ready. Police report filed, utilities fraud notices filed with header attachments. Forensic lab intake opened on David's updated will. The fonts will tell, I said. They always do. He tapped his screen and angled it so I could see subject lines march into my inbox. Fraud notice received, forensic intake acknowledged. My phone buzzed with a different flavor of email. Melissa. Subject, settlement agreement, draft. The first line previewed itself. You keep the house and $5 million. We ensure discretion regarding building. I didn't open it. Forward that to me and do not reply, Harrison said. Climbed once, I said, CCing him. So the silence is on the right side. I typed, all communications through counsel. Then, because truth travels better when it knows it's welcome, paper travels farther than whispers. He smiled without teeth. Works for me. Unrestricted chide. Special Agent Sarah Martinez, a woman said, voice clear as a gavel. Mr. Callahan, Mr. Fitzgerald. Blackmail, we're with you, Harrison said. We've completed preliminary verification on Helen Callahan's assets, Martinez said. No red flags. Funds look clean. The shell pattern matches an informant cover we're familiar with. Pending final cross-check, we can open an operational window. What does that mean for tonight, I asked. Tonight is staging and rules, she said. Tomorrow is the pull, if needed. Rules? I said. You do not show the wire. You do not threaten. You use their words. Trigger phrases help. Clean assets, $5 million. Signed tonight. If they solicit or repeat those terms, we step in. Neil, I asked. We'll notify patrol and a local producer, she said. Elder fraud stings are often observed. It helps with public accountability. Keep your lines short and your tone even. Even I can do. I so receive a confirmation of window in writing. The call clicked over to hold music for a breath, then back. Email sent, she added, lit with a new line that might as well have been a drum roll. Subject operation window, Tier 1, tomorrow. 19-0-21-0. The body used exactly 7 words I needed and none I didn't. A time window fits better in a man's pocket than a theory. Harrison slid a fresh legal pad my way. Checklist for tonight. You rest, you eat, you do not text them. Forensic intake confirmed. Police notice in. Utilities aligned. Tomorrow you go to the bank at 9 for your capacity check with Officer Tran. We want that letter in hand before the window. He leaned back thinking, then pointed at my folder. Show me the key. I set the spare key on his glass table. Its brass face reflected next to the small blue tag locker key he'd given me Monday. 2 keys, 1 reflection. He noticed. Can to be loud, he said, but it should be visible. Like a seal, I said. The boardroom door opened and the notary clerk from the kiosk stepped in. Different clerk, same lanyard, here for a traveling appointment Harrison had arranged. She inspected my ID again, initialed 2 witness lines, and cleared her throat. You sure you're up for a fight? She asked, not unkindly. I'm up for a record, I said. She nodded as if that were the right answer. Records outlast stories? Stamp, seal, done. She left a business card with nothing but her name and the word notary, large and neat. Harrison's email made a ping that meant bank, not family. I opened it because bank beats family now and then. From, bank fraud unit, subject, temporary hold lifted. I expanded the header long enough to see the timestamp, a single clean proof cue that a chapter had turned. I hit forward to Harrison. The line toggled to sent, and I let it mean what it meant. Blinked, he said, reading his copy. We'll include that with tomorrow's capacity letter. Access restored plus competence documented is hard to spin. They'll try, I said. She'll email again, he said. Don't reward it. As if on cue, Melissa, again, same subject, settlement agreement, draft. I left it unopened. The file preview sat like bait under glass. Agent Martinez called back. No hold music this time. We're a go on the window, she said. I'll brief my team at 1800. Mr. Callahan, a tech will meet you tomorrow at 1600 for wire check. Understood, I said. You'll want to sleep, she added. People think adrenaline will carry them. It makes them verbose. I'll be brief, I said. I've had practice. We ended the call. Harrison drew a small square at the edge of his whiteboard and wrote 1900 inside, then underlined it once. Neat. Tonight you do nothing, he said. Tomorrow we do everything. Calmly. He walked me through the front, shook my hand, and looked me in the eye the way men used to when the deal really mattered. You're doing well, he said. Keep your lines short. Unwilling sighed, the evening leaned warm. I drove back to the motel, set my wallet and ID on the desk like a pre-flight. The inbox refreshed itself with one more attempt at kindness from Melissa. The same settlement agreement I hadn't opened, now flagged high priority, like urgency could bless a lie. Harrison's reply hit a second later, CC'd to me. Subject, resettlement agreement, draft. Do not sign. Record all communications. Unresolved, email unopened. I left his on top. Jumherbash shrinks when the stamps land. Harrison slid a fresh pleading across the table. Short, specific, and signed, he said. You contest the conservatorship petition on grounds of fraud and coercion. No adjectives, courts like verbs. I can live with verbs, I said. Invoked to the clerk counter together. The glass was thick. The woman behind it wore the tired diplomacy of someone who sees families try to replace love with forms. Harrison introduced me and set the rebuttal in the tray. Confiscated? The clerk asked. Filed under counsel, Harrison said. Primary is the certified will, further materials pending. She nodded, aligned the corners, and pulled the stamp closer. The pad had that heavy institutional thunk, and then the docket stamp kissed the top page. One clean impression that made the paper weigh more in my hands. Received, she said. Case updated. At the numbers. I didn't need them. The mark itself was the point. Back at Harrison's office, Agent Sarah Martinez waited. Blazer off, sleeves rolled, a small black case on the table. All right, Mr. Callahan, she said, warm but crisp. We're going to practice until it's boring. Boring sounds like safety, I said. She showed me the device, no bigger than a car fob, and clipped a button camera into the placket of my shirt. You won't touch this, she said. You won't look at it. You will be yourself, short answers. Let them say the words. Clean assets, 5 million. Sign tonight, I said. Exactly. She handed me a printed one-liner list. Also, never argue capacity, demonstrated. If they ask you to sign, ask for time to read and name the document out loud. Harrison leaned against the credenza, arms folded. And if David tries to frame this as family, you say, Unnications through counsel, I said. Martinez smiled. You've got the cadence, again. We ran it twice. I stumbled a line the first time, too much explanation, then trimmed it to bone. Martinez nodded. Better. We'll do a live check at 1600 with a tech. I'll be nearby when you meet tonight. If they try to move the location, you refuse. I reached into my pocket, took the spare key, and slid it into my shirt pocket over my heart so it sat beneath the little wire. For luck, I said. For control, she corrected, approving. We shook hands, she packed the kit, left with a promise I believed because it didn't sound like one. Harrison closed the door and studied me like a carpenter checks a joint. You're steady, he said. Steady enough, I said. Good. Eat. Nap if you can. You'll want fewer words later, not more. My phone buzzed against the wood. David. I let it ring twice and answered on speaker. Dad? His voice came in thin, stretched like a string tuned too tight. Maybe we should slow this down. You mean stop lying? I said. Just talk to me, without Harrison. I heard a muffled murmur, Melissa off mic. Put him on hold. He didn't. He exhaled instead, a sound with edges. We can fix this. Return my keys, I said. Start there. Don't be dramatic, he said, but the word lacked its usual polish. Privileged, nerves or truth-knocking, I'm answering. I ended the call before he found the script again. Harrison smiled a little. Nice exit. I'll save the rest for tonight, I said. At the motel, the tech met me at 4 on the dot and checked the wire with quiet competence. You sound clear, he said. Do not touch the mic. Do not adjust your shirt. I'll pretend I was born in it, I said. He laughed and left. I sat on the bed and breathed through 3 slow counts until my voice felt like my own. They'll hear my voice, not their lies. The front desk bell dinged. I opened the door and the clerk stood there with a sealed envelope and a careful expression. "This came by courier," he said. "Looked official." Header without breaking the seal. Hearing. Monday, 9 a.m. D+3 in clean type. A clock you could set a day by. "Thank you," I said. "Good luck, Mr. Callahan," he said and retreated with the discretion of a man who sees enough. I slid the envelope into my folder, felt the locker key press against it, and then pressed my palm flat on the cover to quiet the urge to shuffle everything again. Outside, evening began its slow rehearse. Inside, the room held still. I put my hand to the pocket over my heart where the spare key rested under the wire clip, and let the weight of both steady me. I picked up the envelope and pocketed it. TOC Officer Tran met me in the branch lobby with a handshake that checked for tremor and found none. He led me past the humming printers to a glassed-in desk where the screen faced me, not the hallway. "We'll do this clean," he said. "Short questions, short answers. You ready?" "I came for verbs," I said. He smiled. "Full name." Refreshing. Richard Alton Callahan. Date of birth. Man in front of him without pretending not to. Medications that affect judgment? No. What's your goal today? Safeguard capacity and move $1 to confirm access, I said. Document both. He nodded slowly, a tick up in respect. "Okay, I'll supervise. You'll operate the keyboard." He turned the monitor slightly more toward me. "Walk me through the steps." Forging Ogden without help, found transfers, selected external, chose the checking account I've used since Reagan. He watched my hands, not my face. "Amount?" he asked. $1, I said, typing 1.00. Destination, my small savings, same bank. Note field? Test wire, I said, and typed it. He leaned in, reading without touching the mouse. "Before you hit confirm, tell me in your own words what you're doing." "I'm authorizing a $1 transfer to verify that I have access and control," I said. "No one else is present or coaching me." Sluggish, he sat back. "Good. Confirm. Conserve." The system thought for a breath and returned a status ribbon across the top of the page. It was the only line that mattered, and I let it stay on screen like a flag. Transfer. $1. Queued. 09:27 a.m. Demolished didn't reach for my phone. I didn't point. I let the words live where they were born. Tran tapped a quick command at his terminal. A small printer coughed and fed out a single sheet. He signed it, then added his officer number by hand. "This letter states you demonstrated independent access and executed a transaction of your choosing," he said. "I'm the one saying it happened. You want a copy now and one sent to counsel?" "Yes," I said. He glanced at me sideways. "You seem steadier than the story I've heard." "I don't argue capacity," I said. "I live it in public." "That'll do." He slid the original into a clear sleeve. "I'll email the scan to your attorney from a branch account. You'll leave with the paper." We both stood. He watched me log out, then asked one more hard question because it's his job. "Why $1? "Because a test should test the system, not my budget," I said. He gave a short, honest laugh. "Fair." The printer whirred again. Montage done in 3 beats. Sign, initial, sleeve. He handed me the letter. I placed it in my folder without showing it a camera. Mine or his. My phone buzzed face down on the desk. I didn't flip it. Tran noticed and nodded once, approving the discipline. "Anything else you want to put on the record?" he asked. "Yes," I said. "No one else needs to speak for me today." "Jana, copy that," he said and shook my hand a second time. Less testing now, more witness. On the sidewalk, the heat climbed my shins and settled in. I stood in the sliver of shade the branch awning offered and called Harrison. "Championship letter in hand," I said. $1 transfer, queued at 9:27. "Perfect," he said. "Send me nothing from the sidewalk. Walk. Then call me again. We keep your digital trail clean." "I can walk," I said. "Ping you with a T0 card after she sees Tran's email," he added. I started down the block, the folder tucked flat against my side, the spare key warm against my shirt, where I'd kept it since morning. My phone chimed twice by the time I reached the corner. I waited until I was back in the motel room to look. 2 messages, see weather warnings. The first from Martinez. "Tonight, 1901, T0. The second from a number I didn't need to save to recognize the tone. Melissa, we'll be by with an inspector at 4. I breathed once through my teeth. My thumbs wanted to answer. My head didn't. I texted Harrison instead. Bank done. Letter in hand. $1. Wire queued. 0927. Melissa threatening inspection at 4. Radioactive and in a blink. Good. Reply to her with, all communications through council. No more. I wrote exactly that to Melissa. 3 dots bobbed, sank. She sent nothing. I set the phone face down again. The T-0 reminder pulsed once and went quiet. I took the spare key from my pocket and pressed it flat against the folder where the letter lay, feeling the ridge of the signature through the cover. Control, meet proof. The room's air unit kicked on with a rattle. Somewhere a housekeeper's cart squeaked past. I laid out my shirt for tonight like a man setting tools on a bench. Steady, unremarkable, familiar. Capacity isn't declared, it's demonstrated, I thought. Then I sat, let my breath settle, and waited for the day to finish proving the point. Team. I buzzed again. The same message banner from Melissa surfacing a second time as if repetition could make it law. We'll be by with an inspector at 4. I left it unopened and pocketed the phone. I walked up the path like a guest who knew the furniture better than the hosts. The oleanders threw a tired shade. The porch concrete held the day's heat in its knuckles. I could hear the house breathing through the swamp cooler, familiar but redirected. David opened the door halfway and filled the rest with his voice. Dad, not a good time. It's my time, I said. I lifted my hand so he could see the spare key between 2 fingers. I'll let myself in. Melissa materialized behind him, phone down by her hip, lens angled like a friendly eye that never blinks. Richard, please, you're escalating. I'm entering my home, I said. Legally questionable, she said sweetly. Morally obvious, I said. An SUV rolled to the curb. A man in a polo with a city logo stepped out carrying a clipboard and the weightless authority of reflective tape. He scanned the porch like a landlord at an inspection and nodded to Melissa. Thanks for coming, she said. Safety complaint, he replied, not looking at me. David widened the gap in the door just enough to make it feel like a favor. We're making sure Dad's okay. There have been concerns. By whom? I asked. Community, Melissa said. Family. Alonzo stood on his porch 2 houses down, arms folded, not choosing a side you could see. Pastor Ruth's sedan edged to the curb behind the SUV. She stepped out, then hesitated as if the gravel might judge her shoes. Let's just keep this calm, David said, to the inspector, to the air, to the version of himself he prefers. I slid the spare key into the lock. Nothing. It didn't even bite. I tried again, firm, not frantic. The metal grazed, skittered, refused. Change the lock, David said, almost cheerful. Smart upgrade. Safer. For who, I asked. Everyone, he said. Melissa lifted her chin, the better angle for mercy. We couldn't risk you wandering in and forgetting the stove. I haven't forgotten the stove, I said. I remember who cooked. The inspector cleared his throat. We've had a report of tripping hazards in unsecured stairs. I need to do a quick check. You need consent, I said. Flame's consent, David said, stepping forward. I have it. You have an opinion, I said. Consent lives with the person whose name is on the deed. Gate on the porch, Melissa said, smiling at the inspector. Could you just note the loose rug in the stairwell? We've tried to help. Spector asked me. You can wait here. I'll stand on my porch, I said, and you'll walk into my house like it's a showroom? He shifted his clipboard. I don't want conflict. Safe without honesty is theater, I said. Tangled Ruth took a small step closer. Richard, she said, voice pitched for a nursery. Maybe let them handle this today. Handle what? I asked. My absence? She looked down at her hands. Melissa's phone crept higher, then lowered again, just enough to say it wasn't filming while it did. Alonzo called softly, Rich? And stopped when the inspector gave him a quick practice smile that means, stay out. Davis leaned his shoulder into the doorframe like he'd earned it. Dad, you're making a scene. I'm making a record, I said. The inspector slipped past, quick and efficient. Inside, the wall clock over the mantel glinted through the window. A plain face, hands near the fore. The house exhaled with the cooler, then held its breath. Melissa reached for my forearm. "No one wants you upset." "Return my keys," I said. "They're safer with us," she said. Peated. The word thieves love when they need a lullaby. David's smile went thin. "Don't be cruel." Turbulence. "Don't be my jailer," I said. The inspector reappeared with a piece of yellow paper and a roll of tape. He didn't read it. He didn't have to. Official yellow says everything without numbers. He pressed it to the door with 2 quick strips and a perfunctory palm. "Reinspection required," he said, as if narrating a traffic cone. "Please address the hazards." Asked. "What hazards?" I said. "Stairs." I looked at the steps I'd walked longer than David had been shaving. They looked back, unoffended. "You could thank us," Melissa said softly. "This is for your dignity." Trying to wrap theft in satin, I said. "It still scratches." Perpendicular swallowed. "Perhaps we all need some space." David seized the word. "Exactly. Dad, take the weekend to rest. We'll handle the house. Monday, we'll revisit." "Monday," I said, watching the yellow notice curl at the corner and catch again. "I have an appointment Monday." "With who?" he asked. "Someone who reads papers for a living," I said. He blinked, recalculating a script he thought was the only one. Melissa leaned in toward me, voice low enough to sound kind on a recording. "Let's talk tonight, 7 o'clock. "About what?" I asked. "About keeping the right things quiet," she said. Alonzo shifted on his porch. Pastor Ruth looked at her shoes again. The inspector folded his clipboard against his stomach like a shield. I pulled the spare key from the lock and set it flat in my palm. The cut edges caught a slice of sun and threw it back. A small, defiant glint. "They changed the lock. They don't own the door in me." "Richard," Pastor Ruth said, softer now, "can I pray for peace?" "You can pray for truth," I said. "Peace can come after." David lifted his hand as if to pat my shoulder, then thought better of it. "We'll check on you later." "I won't wait," I said. He smiled a camera smile and stepped back inside. The inspector gave the yellow notice, one last smoothing press. Melissa tilted her phone, let the lens catch my face. In the same second, her mouth formed the date. 7 o'clock, she murmured, barely audible, like a promise or a threat. I didn't answer. I closed my hand around the spare key, pocketed it, and stepped off my own porch without looking back. The motel hallway smelled like bleach and last chances. I just ironed the shirt I could button without thinking when someone knocked twice, polite like a bill collector on a Sunday. There with a folder and the apologetic tilt of a man who doesn't set the rules, only wakes them up. "Mr. Callahan, your card hiccuped," he said. "We'll need a small cash deposit to keep the room active through tonight. Just routine." "Prolonged?" I asked. He named a number that wasn't an insult, just an inconvenience. I nodded, counted bills from the envelope I'd kept in my folder, and placed them in his palm. "Thank you," he said, receipts unsummoned. "Systems jittery on Fridays." Cade. He offered a half bow and retreated. Down the corridor, a TV behind a thin wall let the weather drift through. Just past 6, like an usher whispering places. Sunset slid a copper line across the walkway, the kind that makes everything look like a memory. A ring I'd set for church and never changed. Pastor Ruth. "Richard," she said when I answered. "I wanted to call before tonight." "Good timing," I said. Her voice searched for steady. "There's been confusion in the prayer chain. People are asking if you're deteriorating. I'm trying to correct it without inflaming things." "Confuse happens on its own," I said. "I didn't come yesterday because I didn't trust my own read," she said. "That was wrong." "Unquestioned returns faster when it says it out loud," I said. "Say it. I trust you." "Thank you," I said, and meant it. The line eased half an inch. "Afternoon," she added, reluctant. "He mentioned safety concerns. He asked us to pray you'd accept guidance." "Pray I accept truth," I said. "Guidance can come after." She exhaled ragged. "You sound clear." "I am clear," I said. "I have exactly the words I need tonight and no extras." "I'll be praying during that time," she said. "And if you want me there, you'll hear what you need to hear after." "All right," she said. "I'm sorry for..." She groped for the exact noun and chose the right one. "Distance." "Distance is a fixable sin," I said. "We'll fix it." We hung up. The room settled. I slid 2 fingers into my shirt pocket and touched the spare key until the metal warmed. It wasn't magic. It was a reminder. Control is a tool you carry, not a word you argue. The phone rang again, sharper. David. Polluted. 7 o'clock, he said without hello. Or we file in the morning. All communications through counsel, I said. Are offering you the house and 5 million, he said. Voice brisk as a brochure. It's generous. Generosity doesn't need secrecy, I said. He laughed, a noise with edges. You want to embarrass your own family? If truth scares your plan, I said, fix the plan. You're being dramatic. I'm being precise. He took the pause personally. Then at 7, come alone. I let the silence be my answer. He filled it anyway. You know how this ends, he said, with us protecting you from yourself. Funny, I said, that's what I'm doing for you. Dad, counsel, I said, and ended the call. Outside, a cicada started up like a small machine with a moral. The weather voice in the neighbor's room mentioned evening lows and a heat advisory. The corridor light crackled on, weak and flickering, as if the motel had its own nerves. I sat on the edge of the bed and laced my shoes. The wire clip on my shirt lay flat where the tech had placed it. I didn't touch it. I didn't look at it. I let it be the uninvited guest they wouldn't see until it introduced itself. Pressure is loud, resolve is quiet on purpose. I stood and checked the simple things: wallet, ID, locker key, phone folder. The spare key rested against my chest under the placket, small and unmoved by their theater. I practiced the one line I was allowed to have an opinion about: my name. Everything else would be theirs. A knock again, the managing the door with a professional fingertip. Just letting you know, he said. The shift changes at 7. You need anything before that, buzz me now. I'm stocked, I said. He looked like he once chose his job instead. All right, have a good evening, I said. When the door clicked shut, I felt the room's own heartbeat. Blower, fridge, the tiny pop of the light. I set the motel pen by the phone because it felt like a small obedience to order. I poured water into a plastic cup and drank it all. The phone pulsed once with a text. I didn't have to tilt the screen to know the cadence. Agent Martinez, status? I looked at the clock on the nightstand. I looked at the door. I looked at my hands. Then I set the phone face down, slid the cash receipt into the folder without thinking about it, and placed my palm flat over the cover until the small tremor in my knuckles stood down. I paid the room. I paid the rumor tax. I paid attention. The phone buzzed again. I did not open it. The porch light clicked on like a metronome at 7. Somewhere down the block, a church bell answered with its own plain, yes. I stood at the step, touched the spare key through my shirt, and let my breath shorten to the size of the moment. The door opened to Melissa's smile. Bright, managerial. David hovered behind her, eyes shiny with a confidence he'd borrowed. She said, let's be efficient. If you're getting accurate within setting a party, maybe your way from getting. For most of the city is the time the cars is working for getting. And the lost down are offers safe team, and these stages working for getting. The end of the city is her fare, and S&S's are offers. Police one of the time or hang their more contest for your near, your deliability, and your mile buck. We found these mile, and I can sit this wire toward has a grief theory, so I said just a sweat now. We do have the pieces helping and trying to perceive. You is for to buy, and we found out there the pieces have great counter toward in. Your security think a big safe and the time one of this sea were proving aside. If you're listening, you can share them sue in the time one of this of face. I don't want to now. I said a put me fan. The 1906 of the Wallen. You rehearsed kindness. I brought receipts. David's jaw ticked. Dad, please. Don't make us do conservatorship. Don't make me watch you explain this to a judge, I said. Her smile stiffened. We're here to help. You're here to take, I said. Name who told you to say, clean assets. Language like that protects everyone, she said. Language like that triggers consequences, I said. And then I looked at the kitchen doorway the way a man looks at weather. Boots moved, quiet at first, then present. Badges surfaced in the frame like punctuation. Federal agents, a calm voice called from the kitchen. Hands where we can see them. Melissa's face blanched to paper. David froze with his palms splayed on a page he hadn't earned. Agent Sarah Martinez stepped in. Ponytail tight, voice level. Hand David Callahan, she said. You are under arrest for conspiracy, elder abuse, wire fraud, and attempted extortion. Wait, Melissa said, backing a half step. This is a misunderstanding. We were negotiating a settlement. Unstees say otherwise, Martinez said. Through the window, porch shadows gathered. Alonzo, Pastor Ruth, neighbors. A local cameraman's red tally light winked to life, steady as a heartbeat. David looked at me like a boy who'd bet on a trick door. Dad, he said, voice cracking, tell them it was advice. We were protecting you. Clang, you were protecting a payout, I said. The cuffs clicked, not mean, just inevitable. Melissa found her tone again, thin and cutting. You'll regret humiliating your family on television. Humiliation was your hobby, I said. Accountability is mine. Martinez gestured to the table. Mr. Callahan, step aside. I moved, palms visible, lines short. On the porch, Alonzo murmured, We're here, Rich. Pastor Ruth stood with her hands clasped in a prayer that had finally found a noun. The yellow notice from earlier ghosted the doorframe behind the scene. A bad prop in a better play. Tasia, younger agent, read rights in a cadence that could steady a ship. Melissa's shoulders hardened. David's went the other way, soft, collapsing. He turned toward me, eyes bright with the kind of water that makes bargains. Dad, please, he said loud enough for the neighbors, and then softer, toward only me. I'm sorry. Say for what? I said. For lying, he said, choking a little. For throwing you out, for... He swallowed. I'm sorry. The camera caught it, the neighbors heard it, and even Melissa's mouth twitched in a betrayal her face couldn't stop. She tried to step between his apology and the lens. Martinez shifted, one hand out, firm, not rough. We'll take it from here, the agent said. On the sidewalk, someone clapped once, then thought better of it. The night pressed in with the smell of creosote and a city that loves spectacle more than it should. I picked up the spare key from the table, then set it back down, deliberate. This is entrap. No, Martinez said. This is your language recorded lawfully. David's face crumpled into the boy who used to hand me nails while I fixed the fence. Tell them I'll fix it, he whispered. You will, I said, by starting with truth. They led them toward the door. On the porch, the red tally light glowed, uninterested in anyone's pride. Melissa kept her chin high. David didn't. He stopped on the threshold and turned back to me. I'm sorry, Dad, he said again, and the neighbors heard the whole of it. I know, I said. Now live like it. Martinez came back inside while the other agents handled the parade. Mr. Callahan, she said, her voice switching from iron to wood. We'll walk you through enforcement Monday at 9 a.m. You did well. Short lines, no embroidery. I practice, I sensed at the table, at the spare key, then at me. You can take that, Lepsy. I nodded, closed my hand over the spare key, and felt the old groove of my life return to my palm. With my other hand, I touched the locker key in my pocket, paper and metal, plan and door. Neighbors drifted back into their houses with the complicated relief of people who like resolution better than conflict, but want to see the last line. Pastor Ruth stepped close enough to be heard and not recorded. Richard, she said, eyes wet. Truth. Worth the wait, I said. On the lawn, the cameraman lowered his rig. The porch light hummed on. The house looked the same and not. I slid the spare key into my pocket, let the agent's plan take the air, and stood still until the night stopped shaking. Monday put on its courthouse shoes and got to work. Harrison and I stood at council table with one clean envelope between us. The certified will lay inside, the embossed still proud. I felt the cool of the room pull the heat off my hands. The wall clock above the bench struck 9 a.m. in its own silent way, hands together with purpose. The clerk called our matter. The judge looked over his glasses at Harrison, then at me. "Good morning, Mr. Callahan," he said. "Good morning, Your Honor," I said. Harrison placed the certified copy where the bailiff indicated no flourish. "We're asking for acknowledgement of Mr. Callahan's authority under this will and a directive to restore his possession. Criminal matters are proceeding elsewhere." The judge ran a finger along the embossed edge, then nodded to the clerk. "I see the certification. Conditions are clear." He looked back at me. "Sir, you'll keep things peaceful?" "Yes, Your Honor," I said, "procedural and calm." "Good," he said. "Deputy will coordinate a civil standby this morning. Clerk will provide notice to utilities regarding control. Possession restored as a matter of course." He tapped the bench once, light as a gavel should be when the paper already speaks. "That's all." Agent Martinez waited with her sleeves rolled and the weekend's event behind her eyes. "Civil process from here," she said. "Call if anyone tries to be clever. You did the hard part." "I kept my lines short," I said. "I noticed." She offered a small, real handshake. "Be well, Mr. Callahan." The sheriff's deputy assigned to us had the patient posture of a man who knows rooms lie but doors don't. "We'll meet the locksmith on site," he said. "You lead, we observe." At the house, the yellow notice still clung to the doorframe like a bad opinion. The deputy positioned himself where the porch camera and the neighborhood could see he was bored, not agitated. The locksmith arrived in a van that clicked as it cooled, all drawers and neatness. "Smart cylinder?" he asked, eyeing the hardware. "New as Friday," I said. He grunted, pulled a small kit, and worked with the brisk, confident spins of a man who knows the difference between a problem and a job. "Won't damage the jam," he said. 2 minutes. Melissa's attorney called while the locksmith worked. Harrison took the first volley, then handed me the phone on speaker at a polite arm's length. "Mr. Callahan," the voice said, smooth as laminate, "we'd like access to retrieve personal effects today." "Through counsel," I said. "Supervised pickup only. Inventory recorded." "That's unnecessary," he said. "Ownership isn't volume. It's proof," I said. "You'll coordinate with Mr. Fitzgerald." "Noted," he said. The deputy met my eye, satisfied. "That's the right lane," he said. Inside the lock, something gave with a soft tack. The locksmith eased the smart cylinder free like a loose tooth and set it in a tray with the tenderness you give to things you're done with. "New mechanical deadbolt," he said, "cutting you 4 keys." "3 is fine," I said. "4 is policy," he said, smiling. The machine in the truck sang its bright little grinding song. Take. We stepped into the hallway together, Harrison, the deputy, me. The house held its breath, the way houses do when they realize who's speaking. I reached under the entry shelf to the small hook Helen and I had used for a lifetime and found it empty, waiting. From my pocket, I drew the spare key that had failed me on Friday. I didn't need it anymore. I hung it on the original hallway hook where it belonged, retired, witnessed, right. The locksmith handed me a small ring of new-cut keys. Their edges were clean in a way that felt almost arrogant. I put them in my palm and closed my hand once, not a fist, just to check. "Try it," he said. I stepped back out, turned the new key in the new lock, heard the bolt slide, and turned it back again. Functional music. The deputy wrote something simple on his clipboard and didn't make me read it. "Titties?" Harrison asked. The deputy nodded toward the street. A bucket truck idled. A tech hopped down and tipped his cap. "We got notice from the court this morning," the tech said to me. "We'll reset access on your accounts. No codes needed from you today." "Thank you," I said. In the kitchen, the cooler clacked to life like an old friend clearing its throat. I checked the stove, off, the way I leave it. I checked the rocker, still Helen's. Harrison's phone hummed. He said yes twice, acknowledged once, and hung up. He said, "Your mailbox may bring you 3 different letters saying the same thing. Ignore 2 of them." "Noted," I said. The deputy made one slow patrol of the common rooms, eyes open, no commentary. "If personal property pickup gets set," he said, "call my office. We'll send someone. Keeps the temperature down." "Confiscated for room temperature," I said. He grinned. "Me too." Turned with the ring of extras. 4 keys, he said, placing them on the hall table. "Locks changed today. No receipt, no flourish, just the sentence that mattered." Harrison checked his watch. "Anything else before we clear out?" My phone buzzed on the table. Unknown, local news. A voicemail blinked into being while the ring died. I looked at the phone and did nothing. Melissa's attorney texted Harrison. His screen lit. "They'll propose Wednesday for pickup," he said. "We'll confirm with the deputy and give them 90 minutes. Inventory at the threshold." "Good," I said. "No speeches." He tucked his pen away. "We're done for today." I walked to the doorway and stood where I'd been told to wait 3 days ago. The street looked like itself again. Alonzo's truck, Mrs. Alvarez's porch flag, sunlight on the wrong side of the sago palm. The deputy tipped his hat and stepped off the porch. The locksmith loaded his van. Harrison squeezed my shoulder once, half handshake, half punctuation, and left the sentence to me. Victory quiet, lawful, fitted like a key. Tay looked up the new house keys, felt their notches print a small argument into my palm, and slid them into my pocket. The spare key hung where it should, a retired witness in plain sight. The phone chimed again, the reporter's voicemail icon pulsing like it had an opinion. I let it blink and walked down the hall to check the stove a second time for no reason, except that I could, a message. Morning light finds the hallway honest again. Justice wasn't thunder, it was patience, paper, and saying less until the right words were heard. He once threw me out, now I live by my own lock and quiet. I hang the spare where it belongs and turn the new key. Click. Story, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment your thoughts below. Type 1 if you resonate with this story.